Welcome to another edition of Interruptions. I'm your host, Otis Smith. Today, I got another treat for you guys. This man here really needs no introduction. If you don't know who he is, then that means you just don't know basketball. He is a Hall of Famer. My second Hall of Famer I had. First, I had Sidney Moncrief. Now, I have the brilliant basketball player and broadcaster, Rick Barry. How you doing, sir?
I tell people, Lotus, if I was doing any better, I'd be making a comeback in the NBA.
Oh my, well, they need you.
Well, for decades, I've tried to get them to put the designated free throw shooter rule in, but they're not going for it.
They're not going for it. Yeah, you know what? That could keep a lot of people playing for a long time.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, there's so many things that I don't understand. First of all, I don't understand why baseball put it in there. I grew up playing baseball. It was my best sport, actually. I was a better
Same
baseball
here.
player, yeah, in high school than I was basketball. And I mean, the pitcher always, he's nine guys. He always bats. He has to bat. And
Right.
so for many, for decades and decades and decades, I mean, the pitcher batted. Then all of a sudden, somebody came with the genius idea. Well, let's get a designated hitter. And one of the leagues does it, the other one doesn't. I mean, it's so ridiculous, these things that people come up with when they have professional sports and screw around with the rules. And that was one of the things that drove me nuts. I mean, a pitcher should be able to have to hit. I mean, he's part of the team. It's part of the skills of being a baseball player. And then in basketball, the same thing. The one that drives me really nuts. I'm so mad at the NBA that they actually put a rule in to protect a guy who had a lousy skill that he should have, which is shooting free throws. I mean, you can't foul intentionally off the ball, the hack a shack thing, to stop
Right.
all of that. Hey,
Right.
you know what? Don't change the rules. Make the player learn how to shoot better.
Work. Okay. So you know what? You done already segue, like you said, you was born for this. You stay ready. So you segue into one of my questions. So I'm gonna go ahead and just go in and get to it, which is do you believe the players, and so we'll play around with the questions because I want to go ahead and since you're there, do you believe that the players are not being taught the complete game? And what I mean by that,
Oh,
where I'm
without
going with it,
question. Without
yeah,
question.
okay, yeah, because when I was coming up, even on the playground, and you know this because if your shot didn't fall, you would look at me like, all right, Otis, just get back on defense, and lock your man up. It couldn't be as just if I'm scoring, then I'm allowed to have a bad game just because one element of my game is off.
Yeah, no, you need to be an all-around player. I mean, that's the thing. Every skill required, you should have no real major deficiency in your talent and skill level.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, great many players do. I mean, there are players playing in the NBA today making multi-millions of dollars who have major flaws in their game, and but have yet incredible God-given abilities and talents that they're never going to be as good as they should be because they weren't taught how to play the game the right way to utilize those amazing God-given talents in the right way possible. And it just breaks my heart because I love greatness in everything in life. I enjoy listening to someone talking who's smart about something. I love different performers, in the
Mm-hmm.
entertainment field. I love other athletes in other sports, but it kills me to watch talent wasted. And there's so much talent in basketball being wasted because they weren't taught the fundamentals of the game. I equate it to this: the fundamentals of the game, or in anything you do in life. When I talk to young kids or to
Mm-hmm.
businesses,
Mm-hmm.
the fundamentals are the foundation that you lay down to build on. You cannot build a tall building with a small foundation.
Correct.
It can't work. It can only go so high and it's going to topple over.
Correct.
So the bigger the foundation, the bigger the building. The greater your knowledge of the skills and basics of the game,
Mm-hmm.
the greater the opportunity for you to really maximize your full potential using your talent to its fullest. And it doesn't happen all that often. It's really sad.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that drives me crazy because I'll look and see and watch a game and they'll say, well, his shot is not falling tonight. Anybody can have a bad game shooting. And I'm like, but that wasn't the only part of the game. You can defend, you can rebound. Sometimes if you rebound and get a couple of easy putbacks, sometimes your shot
Exactly.
comes back falling. you know.
Exactly. You get an easy shot. You get a little more confidence. I remember my college coach, he became my father-in-law, Bruce Hale from the University of Miami. He was a former pro player and helped me so much to get ready for pros.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Rick, you're going to have 8 games, at least minimum of 8 games during that long NBA season where, offensively is really like a roller coaster,
Okay.
up and down, up and down. You want to try to not have too many downs, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But what you have to do, he says, when that's happening, you have to contribute to your team in some way to justify your being out on the floor. So if your shot's not going and you're not making your shot, stop taking all those bad shots, drive to the basket, get to the free throw line, go get an offensive rebound, play good defense, make some passes to teammates, do something productive.
I miss that growing up watching guys like yourself play. Is that if they didn't have the greatest offensive game, they still showed up in the stat sheet. Whether it was you got fouled, or you rebound, or because you watch this, because also you had more than one element of your offensive game. Like you wasn't just standing out there shooting threes. Like you said, your coach told you to drive the basket, or if you was driving, saw someone cutting, then you can make the pass because you're making the correct basketball play versus saying, hey man, I got to get my 25, 30 points a night. And if I can't get that, then I can't play.
Well, with that attitude, I don't want a player like that on my team, to be honest with you. I can honestly
Right.
tell you this. I never once in my life walked out in the court and say, I'm going to try to get 30 tonight, or I'm going to try to get, I never thought about how many points or tried to get a certain number of points. I went out and I played the game they always taught to play, which was always to be aggressive. When I got the ball, I was looking for a way to score, and I would try to score provided I didn't have a teammate in a better position. Then he gets the
Right.
ball.
Right. Which segues to my second. Well, it was my second question, but it segues. So, which is, do you believe the players in your era when you played were smarter than the players today?
Not smarter, but they were taught how to play the game properly.
Okay.
We had a basic fundamental understanding of the right way to play the game. That's why the All-Star game, it's a joke now, and they shouldn't even call it the All-Star game. Call it the All-Star exhibition, because that's all it is. It's an exhibition. We played that game. That was an extremely competitive game back then because we didn't make the kind of money they make now. I mean,
Correct.
hell, they got 3 zeros on my contract. I never heard the word million when I played. So, to play in the All-Star game and have a chance to make $3,000 or something was a huge deal. I mean, that's like a fifth of my salary. So, and it was competitive, but yet we played in the games were played well. Why? Because we knew how to play the game. And even though we're playing the guys that weren't our teammates, we were
Right.
fundamentally sound and we knew how to play the game the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you're right. Maybe just like you said, and the reason I use the word smarter because I look at even with the coaches sometimes, which is one of my other questions for you. Are they just complicating the game? Because I play football, baseball, basketball, and I'm like, these games are not complicated. You're making it
I agree.
complicated.
I agree 100%. Like they say, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, the old kiss method.
It is. It's not a complicated game, and it's more fun to play when you play it the correct way. You play it unselfishly. That's one of the characteristics that everybody has to have. If you're going to play this game and you're a
Mm-hmm.
selfish player, I don't want you on my team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because you're not gonna make the play for the team. You're gonna try to make the play for yourself,
I
which will
told
end
people
up
when I
hurting the
talk to
team.
some teams, yeah, well, when I told people when I
Mm-hmm.
talked to a couple of teams before they went to play and do something,
Mm-hmm.
have the right attitude in the game of basketball. When you go to training camp, your ego should go in the closet. It's no longer about you anymore.
Okay.
Like they say, there's no I in team.
Mm-hmm.
What can you do to help this team be successful and win a championship? That's what your only goal should be. What can I do to help this team win a championship? And sometimes it requires sacrifice on your part if that's what the coach asks you to do. Unfortunately, there are coaches out there, quite a few of them, who don't understand that their responsibility is to evaluate your talent and to use your talent in the best way possible. But a lot of coaches force players to play their system, and
Yeah.
their system sucks for that player. And therefore, the player gets a bad rap, but it's not the player's fault. It's the freaking coach's fault. because he's not using his talent as efficiently and as effectively as possible. The biggest example I bring up all the time for those
Okay.
people, for younger people who are listening,
Mm-hmm.
is the Dallas Mavericks had a player that was a terrific 3-point shooter, but wasn't being used effectively. Dick Motta happened to be the coach back there. He played a slow down style of game, whatever.
Okay.
This player wasn't used effectively. He got traded. Went and became the leading 3-point shooter in the game because they had the 3-point shot down. That's Dale Ellis. It wasn't like Dale Ellis
Oh,
all of a
Dale.
sudden learned how to
Yeah.
play. He went
Dale
to a
was
team
cold.
that used his talent
Yeah, Dale could
properly.
play. Dale could play. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember Dale. Dale
He
could
could
play.
shoot the hell out of it.
Yeah, Dale could, Dale could play. It's funny and that's why I wanted to talk to you because you remind me of one of my other favorite guests, which is Doc Walker, that played with the Washington Redskins at the time, and I love interviewing him like yourself. I like people that just give it, just give it to me, not all this PC answer and I'm never trying to be messy. It's just that when I want to know what your thoughts, give me your thoughts, and that's what I love about you and um and Doc Walker.
Well, it's
And
gotten me in trouble though, Otis, because the basic thing is that my wife said to me, she said, honey, you're probably the most honest person I've ever met in my life. The problem is you're brutally honest. We got to get the brutality out of your honesty. But I'm not going to blow smoke up of people's butt. I'm going to tell you the truth. And it's your problem. I feel like a lot of times, like Jack Nicholson in the movie A Few Good Men with Tom Cruise in there
oh
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
courtroom scene. You can't handle the truth. And most people can't handle the truth. And what's so sad is that I'll be asked a question by someone and I
Mm-hmm.
give an honest answer and they get mad at me. Hey, wait a second. You don't have to agree with me, but what are you getting mad at me for? Why? Because I didn't answer it the way I was supposed to answer it because of what you wanted to hear? Hey, come on. You ask a question, you have to be prepared to hear whatever that answer is.
And I know what you're talking about. I saw one interview. I always look at interviews previously, so I try to have a different conversation. So I saw the one that you had with I can't think his name. He's on the show with Chris Broussard, the Odd Couple. I can't think of his name right now. It's not Chris Broussard. It was his co-host, and you was letting him know. It was like, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know the game, and he was like, well, you don't know journalism. And I was like, no, 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 no. What you just stated, you're upset at Mr. Barry because he answered the question. You asked him a question, he answered it. It's not your job to like the answer. Your job is to ask the question. Whatever the answer is, that's his answer. Don't get mad
Yeah,
at the answer.
but here's the problem. Here's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
He had the audacity to think that he knows more about basketball than I do.
And that's what when I saw that interview, that's what I laughed at. And I was like, don't try to come, because here was the thing. You weren't saying that he didn't know basketball. You said you don't know more than me. I'm trying to break this thing down to you so you could get an understanding of what's going on, and you trying to tell me I'm wrong only
Thank you.
because you don't like the answer.
Right. And thinking that what he thinks is right and what I think is wrong. And I said the audacity of someone who didn't play the game at that level. I mean, sometimes I just laugh when I did my own radio show for years on KMBR in San Francisco. I used to chuckle sometimes. I said, I admire the fact that you are so adamant about what you're saying, but do you understand that you're basically saying that you think that what you know about basketball is the correct thing, and I don't really know what I'm talking about?
Right.
That's ludicrous.
Because Mr. Barry, what they get confused
Call
on.
me Rick, please. Call me
Rick.
Rick.
Okay, Rick. Okay. I try to make sure I'm
I
respectful.
mean, I appreciate that. Your
Uh,
parents brought you up right, but that's okay.
what I try to get people to understand what they don't understand is that, hey, listen, when you ask someone's opinion or ask their question is their question. If I want to get my opinion out, I don't need to bring Rick on to get my opinion out. I can just record myself, put it out there, right? But if I'm
Right.
having you on the show and asking you your thoughts on something, it's to me, it's stupid to debate you on your thought. I just asked you, what do you think about something? So why would I debate you when you give me
Well,
your thought?
well, but here's the difference, Otis, is that
Mm-hmm.
you would have the right to question my answer if you ask me a question that's basketball related because you played the game. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and you can have your opinion. We can disagree, and then
Right.
you can give your side of it. I give my side of it, and the people
Hmm.
who are listening can determine who they like, who they want to agree with. But
Hmm.
your opinion has meaning because of the fact that you experienced it. You are at that level. It's different than you just being a guy who happened to get lucky to get paid to be able to cover sports, who has no freaking experience playing the game. And yet he's going to think that he's smarter than you are about that game. That's ridiculous.
I agree. Trust me, I agree with you 100, 100%. Which leads me, and you're doing a beautiful job because you segue. I just have to jump around my questions because you keep segueing to it, which is, I remember interviewing our Robert Scoop Jackson, and we were talking about, and I want to get your thoughts on it because I thought it was brilliant, and I've agreed with it ever since. So we was talking about the GOAT debate, the greatest of all time, and I say some people say, like I threw out, some people say Jordan, I threw out Elijah, not Elijah Wan, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and people had LeBron and all this, and he said something, and he said the GOAT debate is stupid. And I'm listening to him. He said, "My father says the greatest is Oscar Robert, averaged a triple double his whole career." He said,
No, he didn't. He didn't do that, but he had a bunch. He was really good. He didn't
"Right,
have a
right,
whole
right."
average for his whole career.
He said, "But that's my father's opinion." He said, "It's subjective. It's an opinion." He said, "I can't move my father off of that." He said, "If my father to him, if that's the greatest player to him, then that's just his opinion." He said people are having debates about who's the greatest, and it's subjective because one is a team sport. They're not playing each other. Like LeBron and Jordan are not going to play each other. Rest is, Kobe Bryant, all these people that we mentioned are not going to play each other one on one in their prime. So for you, do you think that the whole GOAT thing is a stupid debate because it's subjective to what you as an individual like in a player?
Well, you make a good point. So I'm going to change your mind, and you're going to have a total different
Okay.
reincarnation about this.
Okay.
First of all, to have any debate about the greatest of all time in a team sport is
Hmm.
ridiculous
Right.
because the skills required to play each position are different.
Right.
So you can't compare a guard to a center. So
Right.
how can a guard be better than a center and the greatest of all time? If you want to have an interesting conversation and you want to have a good debate about things,
Hmm.
pick and say who's the greatest point guard of all time. And even then, it's still foolish because things change over time. Do it within the decades and the time that they played. Who was the best at their time? Who was to compare Shaquille to Will Chamberlain is ridiculous. Okay, to
Right.
compare Oscar Robertson to Westbrook is ridiculous. To compare Magic to someone else, it's crazy. And that debate is the dumbest thing of all time. Plus, when I played, the GOAT was the guy that screwed up. You were the GOAT. You screwed up. You were the GOAT.
Use
No,
a
now it's the
scapegoat.
greatest of
Right.
all time. So it would be like I'll give you an analogy to show you how you put it in proper perspective.
Hmm.
So we both played baseball, so we understand
Right.
baseball. You'll appreciate
Right.
this one. So are you going to have a debate? Who was better, Willie Mays or Sandy Koufax?
Mm.
Who's the greatest?
Two different
How the hell can you
positions.
have that debate? Willie Mays played center field, had a bat, and Sandy Koufax. You can have a great debate. Was Sandy Koufax the greatest pitcher of all time, lefty?
Right.
Well, but during his time, probably was. Okay.
Right.
So that doesn't make any sense to have that debate. The same way, you're not going to talk about a quarterback and a running back or a quarterback and a defensive back. You have the debate about the positions and keep it within the time frame in which they played. Now it makes some sense because I can tell you, and here's why.
Hmm.
People have said to me, Rick, you guys would have a hard time playing today. And I look at him and I say, are you on drugs? I
Okay.
said, seriously, because here's the deal. When I played, we had nothing to help us, zero. We had no strength coach, no agility coach, no dietitian, no pregame drink before we worked, not pregame workout drink, no drink after you worked out. We had nothing, zero. So if I played today, I would be faster, stronger, quicker, more endurance, jump higher. I would be so much better than I was when I played because of the sophistication of
Correct.
and what they have as far as the training goes and the technology that are out there. And you can't compare me in 1970s
Right.
to someone in 2020 because 2020 it's totally different what they have to work with in order to help make themselves a better player.
I agree everything you said because I've had a conversation with someone, and when they asked me that question, I said, well, to me, I said Kareem, even though I didn't see Kareem in his prime because I was just a little kid, I didn't know what I was watching. I said, but when I go back and I say I watch a man become the all-time leading scorer and never shot a three-pointer, you know, you gotta kind of so he's either going to the foul line or he's shooting the hook shot. And I said everybody else is about to bust their heart trying to catch this number that he put up. I say that's just subjective. I say if you ask me the player I liked the most, the two players, I said one was Dr. J, because that was my hero as I was growing up. And unlike Dr. J, with you, I won't lose the footage. I interviewed him and lost the footage. Can you believe it? I can't, and now I can't even get him back. So, and the other one was Charles Barkley. And people say, why you like Charles Barkley? I say, because actually he was supposed to be a guard. He's a 6'4", that's a guard, but he playing power
Yeah.
forward. And to dominate guys at his height, I say, that's just amazing to me. I say, but that's just my opinion. It's like you said, Rick, it doesn't make it factual. That's just my opinion. So I'm always,
Everybody is entitled to their opinion. You can
yeah,
agree or disagree, but I
yeah,
said if we just take the parameters I'm talking about and keep it in the
sure.
decades about the players from the
You're
different
correct.
positions, now you can have a meaningful conversation and a discussion and a debate about who you think is best. It still doesn't mean that one person's right, the other person is
Right,
wrong. We
right.
like to compare Kareem during his time. Yes, was he one of the best centers ever in his time? Without question. But to
Yes.
compare him to Wilt Chamberlain is crazy. The numbers that Wilt Chamberlain put up compared to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar even had all the points. If Wilt had played that long, he would have had way more
Yeah,
points than that.
yeah.
So you
Well,
can't make that comparison. And so having that conversation doesn't really make any sense to me.
I saw an interview, and I like you brought another guy. The person asked you about your starting five, and I like what you said. When you said Bill Russell, you said, "Look, I don't need Russell to score." You said, "But Russell's gonna play defense, and Russell's gonna stop the other guy from scoring." So I want Bill Russell. You were giving true basketball acumen of why you're choosing a player at a certain position and what
But
as far as what.
I didn't pick him at center.
No,
He's
you
not
had
my
him at the
center.
forward. You had him at the four,
I have
right?
that power forward. I have
Yeah.
power forward, and I'm taking and Wilt Chamberlain at the center position, and I want to play the three, and I'm going to take. I'm going to. It's hard, I'm taking Michael Jordan at the two,
Yep.
and point guard. If we're playing the rules under the old rules where there's no 3-point shot, I'm taking Magic Johnson. If we're playing with the 3-point shot, I'm taking Steph Curry.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what though? Even the team you have, even if we was playing today, I still would take who you said when as far as
Well,
Magic.
of course,
eh,
Michael Jordan became a much better 3-point shooter.
There you go.
I would have been a much better 3-point shooter, but I had to learn to get it. I got to 33%. But I tell you, if I were playing today, two things I'd have to be better at. They said they all talked about, oh, Rick can really handle the ball. Hey, it was righty lefty crossover. That's extending my ball handling. But for somebody 6'7.5", 6'8" with my shoes on, who was quick and fast, they
Right.
hadn't seen that before. And who could pass the ball. So I would have to be better at my ball handling, which is easy. What do? You get in the gym and you do 1-2 ball drills. You can get better real easy. Okay. The other thing I'd have to get better at, it would to me would have been I would have not been happy if I wasn't a 40% or better 3-point shooter, which is really, really great shooting. But
Correct.
that would have been my objective. I would have had the goal of being a 40% 3-point shooter. So, that's the difference. I mean,
Well, I
anyway.
like the squad that you put out there. You had the facilitator and Magic, and then if you blinked, Magic is scoring on you. If you blink,
Oh yeah.
and
Well,
then
well, yeah. Hey, wait a second. In
yeah,
transition, you got Michael who can run the floor. I could run the floor. I
yep,
mean, and you got Magic doing the passing and doing that stuff. But I still would take Steph Curry if it's a 3-point shot as part of the game, because Magic
Oh
can't
yeah.
even hold a candle to Steph Curry
Oh
shooting
no,
threes.
no,
And
no,
if you
no.
want to win the game with the 3-point shot, you got to have players who can shoot the three
Yeah,
point shot.
Steph. Yeah, Steph. But between you and Michael, and of course, even running the floor, of course, uh, um, just said his name from the Celtics. I just lost
Bill Russell.
Bill Russell. He's running as well, but you know,
Well, Wilt could run the floor if he
Will
wanted
can
to.
run. So,
Wilt ran a 48-second 440.
but look who you have on your team when you get on the other end defensive. You got one of the
Thank
greatest
you.
in Will, Russell, and Jordan. So you got three guys on the floor that will play defense. That's going to play
Yeah,
defense.
well, but it's not individual defense, it's team defense, but you got
Defense,
two
right?
rim protectors. You're not going to see anybody dribbling from 30 feet getting to the rim and dunking with Russell and Chamberlain back there. I'm sorry, that's never happening.
Hey, I also like to take your team and put it in the college, and let you guys just play zone because y'all are so long. There's no passing lane. That was a great
Like you
team.
said, it's not a complicated game.
No, it's not. It's not a complicated game at all. Um, when you play, and I'm just over because of just flowing with it. Well, before I ask this question, let me ask this other question. How did you feel? What was it like for you as a father when all your boys began to follow dad's footsteps
I
and
try to
play in
warn
the
them about
NBA?
it. Not, I said, if you're going to do that, boys, you got to be prepared that you're always going to be compared to me. So just be ready for it. It's not going to be easy for you. But the thing is you have to be your own person. Don't worry
Mm-hmm.
about being me. Just be yourself and be the best that you can be, and let the other stuff go and roll off your back like a duck with water. I mean, you can't worry about it. And I remember my son John. He said, I don't care about that. I'm going to be better than you were anyway." And I said, "John, I hope that's true." Well, his first year going to play in college, in the college,
He was at
he went
Tech,
to
right?
college. No, no, his first year. His first year he went to school in California,
Okay,
in a small school there, and screwed up in his grades, and then he had to go to freaking junior college for a year, and then he wound up at Georgia Tech. But
okay.
so he goes there, and the interview comes, and he say, "Why does everybody always have to ask me about my father?" I saw the interview, and I called him up on the phone and says, "Son, that's exactly, if you remember the conversation I had with you years ago, this is what's going to happen. Be ready for it because it's never going to stop." And so, but as far as from a parent standpoint, oh my God, there's just nothing like having a chance to see your children succeed in anything they do,
Right.
but to do it in basketball. I mean, I was hoping, Otis, that I said, geez, if I can, if one of my sons could be a pretty good player, boy, that would be so great. To
Mm-hmm.
have five get Division I college scholarships, all
Yeah.
five play professionally,
Yeah.
three of them, no, seriously, three of them in the NBA. My son's
Right.
school, Merida McHale said, "Rick, your son should have made our team when he went to try out for Boston," but they had 13 no-cut contracts and only 12-man rosters. So he played overseas until he was 40 years old, had a terrific career. And then my son Canyon never really got the chance to go, and he should have been a chance. And he played. He played in the G League, and he was on
Okay.
USA 3x3 World Championship. Really smart, really great player. You would love playing with him. Smart as hell. I mean, he's so smart, it's ridiculous. He has his master's in nuclear engineering, for God's sake.
Ooh.
But he knows the game inside out, but never really got the opportunity. But to have that happen is just, it's almost miraculous. It's certainly a Guinness record without question. No parent has ever had that happen. No sport has had that ever happen. But people say you must be really proud of them. I said, well, I'm not proud of them because they play basketball. I'm proud of them
Right.
because they've been good people and they've done okay. They've done okay in their life. And that's what I'm proudest of. But I honestly could say the hardest thing is going to be my son Canyon may be done with his career. It'll be my last son playing basketball. And I can't even express adequately what a joy it was for me to be able to watch them play. I had the great fortune of having Canyon come along late in life. And I was at a position where I actually had the time to be able
Okay.
to see him. I wish I had the time with my other boys, but hey, I was
Mm-hmm.
still playing ball. I mean, I was doing stuff. I was broadcasting. I'm working.
Right.
But with Canyon, I was able to go. My wife and I went, and we spent the winters in Charleston, South Carolina area when he played at the College of Charleston in the 3 years there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're able to go and watch him play his fourth year when he went and played at University of Florida. And to be able to see all of those games and to be there, it was just incredibly special to me. And so when he finishes up and retires, I mean, it's gonna be. I told him, I said the other day, I said, son, you know what? I'm gonna be more disappointed and sad than you are probably when you decide to not play anymore. I said, because I can't even express how much I love watching you play. And I'm so grateful for technology, Otis. Now, my son played overseas. He played over in Europe. He played in China for a month.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
he's on the world tour for FIBA. But I get to see his games because of the of streaming and stuff. I
Right.
mean, it's crazy. I'm sitting at home watching him play in China, watching him play in Europe, watching him play. He was just in France and in Germany. He just came back from playing over in Malaysia.
Okay.
He's over in Puerto Rico, and they had to cancel the tournament because the hurricane came. But my God, I mean, to turn on and there I am, I get to watch him. I mean, wow.
That's
As a
beautiful.
parent, that's just it's been so special for me.
I used to sit back and every time they would you know you hear the last name Barry, right? And they would say, "Ah, that's Rick Barry and son." And I used to sit back, another one. I was like, "How many sons Rick got?" You know, because I was like, he cranking them out, you know. And so I can imagine just what you eloquent expressed, just because, like you say, you one, you're proud of them because one, they're your kids, and like you said, they're good
Right.
people. But when they follow your footsteps, and because you already know what you did with your career, and you know became a Hall of Famer and all that, but when you can see they can come in and at least some of them got to the same level you got into for playing in the NBA, I knew that for you and your wife that had to just be special and just be such a such a joy, you know, and you can always still come back and say, look, now I started this whole thing. Now don't get it twisted.
I don't take the only thing I could take credit for is that four boys had one mother, and my son Canyon is another mother, different mother, and I could only say anything. I said the only thing I can take credit for is that I was able to have good sex with their mother.
Oh my God. Hey, I'm gonna use that one with my daughters. I'm gonna use that one. I'm gonna use that one because I always
Well, what else
sometimes.
did I do? Because all it is, it's the genes. I said, listen, what are you telling me? I said, what I did, I take credit just like my dad. I taught my boys the fundamentals of the game. I mean, a couple of my boys, I know Scooter and stuff, could probably give my lecture on shooting, could probably give it verbatim. Every one of
Mhm.
my boys was a good shooter because I taught them how to shoot the ball properly. They had great shooting form. And so I'll take credit for that. But as far as the success that they have, they were the ones that had put the time and the effort in to do it. I didn't do anything. That's them.
Well, this is not a question I had, but since you went there, let me ask you a question. So, who gets credit for your son in the dunk contest? Who get?
My actually, that's my, no, that's my side of the family. No, seriously, my brother, my older
Okay.
brother Dennis, my other brother Dennis was 6'3". He played ball, but he got hurt, and
Mm-hmm.
his career came to an end going off to college. But my son, in fact, one day in high school,
Mm-hmm.
I'd never be broken at Roselle Park High School. I was playing on the freshman team, and he was a senior. So I played a freshman game that day, and he played the varsity game later on because they had the freshman, then the JV, and then the varsity playing the same day.
Okay.
I scored 50 in my game, and he scored 50 in his game on the same day. And so he could play. But my brother could jump. My brother was 6'3", can get his elbows to the rim.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I didn't have that kind of jumping ability. I could jump and dunk or something, but I didn't have that kind of jumping.
That's why
So
I
my
asked that.
son,
Look, that's why I asked that question.
my son Scooter was only 6'3", and he
Okay.
could jump. In fact, they got him to go out for the track team in his senior year in high school because he was out screwing around with the girl who was a high jumper, and the coach came down and said, "What are you doing, Scooter?" And he said, "I'm sorry, coach. I was just messing around." He said, "No." He said, "You would have won our last 6 meets with the bar where you're jumping over." And so you kind of come out for track and field. No, 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 no. And they kept working on working. So for the last month of the season, they convinced him to go out. He
Uh-huh.
qualified for the state championships with 1 month of practice in
Oh,
high jumping,
wow.
doing the Fosbury flop. So he could really jump. And then my son Brent obviously won the slam dunk contest
Yeah.
in the NBA. And my son Canyon had a 40-inch vertical.
Wow.
He could jump. And
Hey,
some people were saying, "Oh, well, Canyon Barry, he's not athletic." I said, "What the what do he's got a 40-inch vertical?" When he
that's
went after
athletic.
receive, well, I hear Otis, when he went to the to combine, they have the combine, right, that you have at the end of the
Right.
senior year.
Right.
Well, they have the projected first and second round picks went to
Mm-hmm.
Chicago. The other guys go to Portsmouth. So
Remember that.
for some reason, even though he was the ACC, I mean, yeah, he was the sixth man of the year, right, in the ACC, and he does it well. Like it was, yeah, SEC, I guess it was. What it's, yeah, Florida.
Florida,
So
SEC,
yeah,
yeah.
SEC. So he gets invited to the other place. So sixth man of the year, and only it doesn't get a chance to be a projected second round pick, which I was like dumbfounded by. So they did the same testing. They test in 6 areas: standing vertical, max vertical, agility, and two other things, a couple other things. So I looked at all of the results from both places. If he had been in Chicago with the projected first and second round draft picks, he would have come in first in 3 of them. I think it was 5 things to do, 3 of them, second in one, third in the other. No one tested as well as he did. And somebody had the audacity to say, my son's not athletic. And in the standing, he would have been first in standing vertical, second by half an inch in max vertical, but he's not athletic.
That's crazy. Well, hey, I can tell you, I was 6'1", and I never could dunk. I never could dunk. So, hey,
Hey, dunking is just, if you're lucky enough to have the ability to jump, dunking doesn't mean you're a great basketball player by any
that's
stretch of the
true.
imagination.
That's
I
true.
rarely dunked. I rarely dunked when I played. I mean, I wish I had the ability. I wish I had the hands of a Julius Erving so that I could just take the ball and move it
Man,
anywhere and do the
yeah,
crazy things that
yeah,
was able to do. But here's the thing. I knew that I'm gonna beat my guy. Okay. I mean, maybe not every time, but I'm going to beat him a bunch of times in the game going to the basket. But the problem was I had to outsmart or trick the guy coming to help. These guys, the way they can jump, they jump and go over the second guy, dunk it over the top of him. So I didn't have that luxury.
I have 2 more questions for you. Um, what what motivated you when you played?
I was like my dad. I was a perfectionist, and my father always said, "Son," this, and I try to instill this in all my boys, and I think I did, and to my daughter as well, who didn't play sports, who I had adopted, and always give your best effort in everything you do in life, and then you can feel good about yourself. And the other thing, don't be afraid to fail. Failure is the easiest way to learn how to do something correctly, and you
Mm,
minimize your mistakes and just don't keep making the same mistakes over and over again, but always give your best effort. Then you can sleep much better at night because you know that you gave your best effort that day. And so I can honestly say that there's only one game that I can remember my entire life, and it happened to be when I was a pro, that in the first quarter of the game, I had some things happening in my life at that time that I allowed to impact me because I have the ability, which most people I learned don't have, is to compartmentalize things and take things and put them in the back burner of your brain and don't let them come in and affect you. And it
okay,
affected me that I was so upset with myself, Otis. I vowed I will never let that happen again. And fortunately, God gave me the ability to be able to do that, and it worked really well for me. And that's what it was, is that I was never satisfied. And here's why: the moment, and I tell business people all the time, the
mm-hmm.
moment you feel that you've got it and you've done what you have to do, that's
Mm-hmm.
the start of your downward spiral. You always have
Mm-hmm.
to strive to improve and get better. And the greatest example for me is I was a better free throw. I was the best free throw shooter in the game, and
Yep.
I got better and I changed, kind of like Tiger Woods that I admired so much. He was the best player, and yet he went out to change his swing. Why? To get better.
Better.
I was a
Got
better
it.
free throw shooter at the end of my career than I was at the beginning. And I'm mad at myself for not being smart enough to figure out what I figured out later in life earlier so that I could have done it that way my whole career.
Gotcha. That's good wisdom. That's good. That's good wisdom, you partner, and I appreciate that. I'm gonna take that and run with it. My final question is: everything you've been through in your career, personal life, anything that you've been through your whole life, how do you overcome when adversity when it hits you?
Well, as I said, you can't be afraid to fail. I mean, and here I tell people, when something happens, once
Mm-hmm.
it's happened,
Mm-hmm.
it's over.
Okay.
It's over. You can never change what happened. So if it's something that happens that gets you sad and is very disappointing or whatever it may be, and crying is something that you feel you need to do, go ahead and cry and get over it
Okay.
because it's not going to change anything. So why would you allow something that happened that was very sad to you
Mm-hmm.
impact the rest of your life from that point forward, because it has nothing to do with what you're doing today and what you need to do tomorrow. And you're going to sit around feeling sorry for yourself, and then you're going to disappoint so many other people, and you're going to screw your life up. Is that It makes no sense to do that.
Mm,
None. Now, unfortunately, as I told you, most people don't have that ability to take that sad occurrence and put it on that back burner and
mm,
not think about it. I get asked a lot, do you miss playing, Rick, basketball? And I say no. And they look strangely at me. And I said,
mm-hmm,
no, but let me clarify that. The only reason I can say no is because I don't think about it. If I were to
gotcha.
think about the fact that I will never get to play the game that I love so dearly,
Oh
was such
yeah,
an integral
yeah,
part of my life, that would get me upset and disappointed and depressed. Why do I want
right.
to get that? I don't want to get that way. So I don't
Think
think about it.
about it, right? Man, I appreciate you and your honesty. You was a person I always wanted to talk to. I wanted to make sure when I brought you on, hopefully we had a different conversation. You didn't get asked the same old questions over and over again. And we appreciate
Well,
your
it's hard.
presence.
As old as I am, Otis. I think it's pretty hard for somebody to come up with a question I've never been asked before.
Well, I kind of meant maybe some of the redundant questions because I saw some of the interviews with you previously, and I always wanted to pick your brain about uh far and of course you talked about the players playing today because I always even and you mentioned with football, I'm the same way. Even with baseball, it's like the games are not the same. They took a lot of fundamental stuff out of these games, and it's almost to the detriment a little bit to the players because they don't have a fundamental base that they can grow from, you know.
I agree 100%, Otis. But here's the thing about it. Even
Mm-hmm,
despite that,
mm-hmm.
they're so incredibly freaking gifted. Oh
Yeah,
my God,
yeah,
with the training they have, they
yeah.
do things. Players today do things on a regular basis that I used to fantasize about being able to do. I mean, it's insane how good they are. I mean, just watch Sports Center in the top 10 plays and see some of the things that these people can do. And they'll go on the internet and stuff and go and you see TikTok and some of the things that these people put videos of stuff that they're doing. I'm going, oh my God, how do they
Yeah.
even do some of those crazy things with the skateboarding and the other things and the flips? I'm surprised they haven't killed themselves learning how to do that. It's amazing what a human being can do in today's world with so
Mm-hmm,
much that's available to them if they're intelligent enough
mm-hmm.
to study, learn about it, and put that fundamental base down. And it's the other thing, I just throw this out there too.
Sure.
All of you people out there, if somebody you are listening to us and you are one of these people who are brilliant in some area,
Mm-hmm.
but you use your brilliance to do illegal things, please stop. Use that to do something beneficial. You can make a lot of money. You'll never have to worry about going to jail. You might not get killed if you're screwing around doing something that you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, use it in a productive manner. So many people out there have so much talent and they just waste it. That kills me. Like I say, I love greatness and I hate seeing talent wasted.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it, Rick. That you gave us a lot of wisdom today. I appreciate that. And when I get ready to air it, I'll reach out to you. I'll send you a text or something, letting you know that I'm getting ready to air it, so you'll be on the lookout for it.
Well,
So,
all the best to you. Continued success. God bless everyone, all your listeners. I hope everybody is lucky enough to have a life anywhere close to what I've had, and good health to you and your family. And just remember, give your best effort every single time. Don't be afraid to fail. Learn from your mistakes. And when it happens, it's in the past, it's over with. Move on.
well, thank you, and continue much success and blessings to you, and stay safe.
Thank you.